Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to discuss with you about how can we become peaceful and how can we become calm from our mind. Now, we know that we are living in a world where we are constantly bombarded and constantly overloaded with information, with distractions, and all of the chaos. So what happens when we live in such an environment is we become so reactive and we tend to lose our peacefulness. We tend to lose our calmness in our mind. And then what happens is our frustration, stress, and depression builds in. So how can we deal with this? And what can we do to eliminate these distractions and these constant chatter in our mind and have a peaceful mind in the middle of chaos? So today I'm going to share a few tips where you can practice in your daily life, and then you can, if you practice this, it will be a great help to find peacefulness and calm in the middle of all the chaos. So the first thing that you have to understand is calmness and peacefulness is not an outer source. It doesn't come from outer world. Right? It can be found within. So no matter where you live, no matter what the place you live, no matter what you do, if you really focus on this calmness, and if you're clever enough to find that, then you will be able to find the calmness and peacefulness in the middle of all the chaos. So always remember, calmness and peacefulness should be built and should be developed within. Okay? And also, you have to remember one thing, that calmness and peacefulness is not about emptying your mind, right? When you become calm and peaceful, it doesn't say that there's nothing in your mind, no thoughts in your mind, right? Thoughts may appear in your mind, right? There will be lots of thoughts and train of thoughts will be appear in your mind. But when you become really calm and when you become serene from your mind, you tend to not to react to all those stimulations. That is what the real calmness and peacefulness means. Okay? Normally, when the thoughts appear, right? When all these kind of trains of thoughts appear in our mind, what happens to us is we oftenly react to them, right? We become panicked and we tend to react to them. So the reason why this happens is because we think the thoughts as us. And we tend to think that I am what I think and I am my thoughts. But in reality, thoughts are not you. You are not your thoughts, right? Thoughts are just like they're coming and going. It's like clouds, right? There's the sky and there's the clouds, right? So what is the nature of a cloud? It comes and it swarms around and it goes off, right? Sometimes the sky is cloudy, sometimes the sky is moody, sometimes the clouds are scattered here and there, and sometimes the sky is empty. So you are like the sky and your thoughts are like the clouds, okay? So there's a huge distance between the sky and the clouds. But we often think that the clouds as the sky. Sometimes when it is raining, sometimes when it is moody, we blame to the sky, right? We tend to say that, oh, this weather is not okay. The sky is always raining and it's moody. But sky is not raining. Clouds are what forms the rain, right? Clouds forms the rain. So same as that, when the thoughts appear in your mind, you can take a little step back and think, should I react to this? Should I react upon these thoughts? For an example, if an angry thought came to your mind, what should you do? Just pause a little bit and think, should I react to this? You can have a little bit of a time and think about it. Oh, this is anger. I should not react to this. This is jealousy. I should not react to this. Okay, it's okay to have thoughts in your mind, but if you want to be peaceful, you should not, and you should choose to not to react to those thoughts. So there are a few practices where we can do in our daily life to to make a little bit of a help to this peacefulness and calmness. One thing that you can do is that you can slow down your body movement for a little time period of the day. Maybe like when you have time and when you're working by yourself, maybe like you're walking, maybe like you're writing something, or maybe like you're studying. Try to maintain slow body movements. Now, why I say this? Because our body and our mind is highly interconnected. Okay? When our thoughts become panicked, our body become panicked. So in the other way, if we calm down and if we slow down our bodily movements, it will be a great help for us to slow down the thought process. Then you can take a little time and think about what comes to your mind. That is one thing that you can do. And also there's another great practice that Buddha told us to do, that is called breathing meditation. When you do the breathing meditation, you reduce these heavy loads of thoughts into two thoughts: in breath and out breath. In breathing meditation, all what we are doing is we are constantly becoming aware of in breath and out breath. When you do that, it's sort of like condensing your mind. It's sort of like making your mind soft and peaceful and non-reactive. That is what you can do. And also there's another thing that you can do is to not to judge your thoughts and to be aware of your thoughts. I will give you an example. It's like you're watching a traffic pass by the side of the road, right? You can see cars and bikes and vans and buses are going, but you're not going to judge them. You're not going to stop them. You're not going to chase behind them. You sit by the road and you just watch them. Let the vehicles be the vehicles and you be you. In the same way, let the thoughts be the thoughts and you be you. When you become less reactive to your thoughts, you can find that peacefulness and calmness in your mind. So I hope you got some light about the calmness and peacefulness from this video. So I hope may all of you be well and happy, and may all of you be calm and peaceful forever. Namo Buddhaya.
You know, the quotes are very powerful. Why? Because they are very simple, yet they have powerful meanings, and also they easily get stick in our brain and in our mind. So when we go through tough times in life, when we go through problems, they will help us immensely. So that is why it is very important to keep in your memory some motivational and inspirational quotes. Okay, so this quote from the Buddha has helped me in many times in my life, and it changed the whole perspective about how we should deal with the people in the society. How can I deal with the people in the society? So the quote goes like this. The Buddha says, Sabbang paravasang dukkhang, sabbang issariyang sukhang, sadharane vihanyanti, yogahi duratikkamo. The Buddha says, Sabbang paravasang dukkhang. All under another's control is a suffering. Sabbang issariyang sukhang. All under your control, what is under your control is a blessing for your life. Sadharane vihanyanti. The one who expects this world to be equal to everyone and to fair to everyone, he will end up stressed. And yogahi duratikkamo. Finally, he says, to escape from the bonds from this world and these expectations and attachments from this world is a very, very tough task. So this is the powerful quote that changed the perspective about the society in my life. Why? Because Buddha says, what is under others' control is a suffering. Because in life, we are so busy trying to control what is not under our control. Okay? So what are the things that are not under your control? People's reaction, people's criticism, and how people behave in front of you, how people think of you, what happens to you in the future, all these things are not under your control. The Buddha says that all that is not under your control is a suffering. So do not try to change it. Do not worry about it, because you will end up in suffer. And in the second line, the Buddha says, all that is under your control is a blessing for your life. So it is very important to know what is under your control. So what are the things that are under your control? Everything, every experience that happens to you is not under your control. You know it now. But the reaction towards the every experience is under your control. Okay? People will come and trigger you to be angry. Okay? People can try to make you angry, but you have to make the choice to be angry. So that choice is under your control. You made that choice. So your thoughts, how you think, your thought pattern, your habits, right? Everything that is personal in your life is under your control. If you can do something about it, do it. Go for it and change it. Then you can find the peacefulness and happiness. So it is very important to know what is under your control and what is not. Then you can live happily in this world. So in the third line, the Buddha says, Sadharani vihanyanti. The one who chase behind the fairness and the ones who expect this world to be fair and equal will end up stressed. You see, this world is built up upon the unfairness, right? If you want to make this whole world fair and equal, right, you will not get that result, okay? So that is why if you expect that everything to be fair, you will end up stressed. That is what Buddha says. And the Buddha says, Yoga hi duratikkamo. It is very difficult to escape from all these attachments and bonds towards this world. Because when you get too much attached to something, you know what happens. You will end up in suffering. These quotes has helped me in my life in many times. So I think it will be helpful for yourself too. So keep these quotes in your mind and use them whenever you go through tough times in your life. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. You know what? Today we are going to have a storm to our monastery, right? It's a big storm incoming. And the sky is getting gloomy and gloomy little by little. But you know what? Few hours ago, the whole monastery was shining and it was bathed with sunlight, right? So the weather changes so rapidly, the nature changes so rapidly. So as our life. In life, some days we have storms, right? Sometimes we are very happy. Sometimes we celebrate our life like shiny days, right? Like sunny days. But sometimes it becomes gloomy. All of a sudden it becomes gloomy. It becomes so moody, right? So we feel down, we feel terrible, like we feel depressed, right? And for some days, there's nothing special, like the empty sky, right? So this is life. It always changes, okay? So today, I'm going to talk about this one habit that we all have been through and that can affect us in many ways in our life, and that is the habit of overthinking, right? You know, we all have been through that situation that we have overanalyzed situations and we have expected worst case scenarios and we have kept on thinking about certain things, what will happen in the future, what has happened in the past. That is very painful, and it steals our peacefulness in our life. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you few tips that can manage the habit of overthinking and to stop the habit of overthinking. So let's dive into the video. So the first thing that we have to know before doing any kind of thing is to identify what triggers you, what makes you overthink, right? Because without identifying and without knowing what makes you overthink, you cannot deal with it, you cannot manage it, right? So for people, it may be different ways of triggers. Sometimes people have some fears about talking with other people, right? People have fears about like traveling alone, right? Sometimes people have a fear about what other people think of me. Okay, so it is different from one person to another. So the first thing is to identify what makes you overthink, what triggers you. Once you know it, write it down on a paper. Okay, this is what makes me overthink. This is what making me troubles. Okay, that is the first step, identifying what triggers you to overthink. And then the next step, the second step, is to be mindful about that trigger and that emotion. Okay, because once you identify your trigger, right, what makes you overthink, you can be mindful about it, you can identify it. Once those thoughts comes to your mind, like maybe a fear, maybe like a worry, maybe like a sadness, when it comes to your mind, just if you practice this mindfulness, you can catch that thought, you can identify that thought. Now I'm going to worry, now I'm worrying, right? Now I have this fear in my mind. Because when you become mindful, you understand about it and you know about it, you become aware of it. Then you will have the power to control it, right? Always remember, you cannot control anything that you don't know about and you're not aware about, right? So the second thing is to be aware and to be mindful about your thought. This is one thing that stuck in my mind for a long time, that a thought is just a thought until we give the power to control it ourselves. Okay, so what we have to know, understand the thought as just a thought, right? Don't give the power to control it, right? Don't judge the thought, don't try to stop the thought, right? Just identify it as just a simple thought, as any other thought. Okay, that is the second step. And the third step, you can challenge yourself, you can challenge your mind. Ask from your mind, whenever you catch yourself overthinking, ask from your mind, is this real? Am I worrying about a real thing or a realistic thing? Is that going to happen in reality? So when you think about that, you will come across these conclusions. No, it's not going to happen. Why am I worrying about it? Right? Why am I thinking about it? I don't want to do that, right? It will steal my peacefulness. Okay? So when you think like that, you know what is going inside your mind. So the whole point and the whole secret about stopping this overthinking pattern is to know what is going inside your mind. Okay? That is one thing that you can do to challenge your thoughts. And then the next step is to take action. There is no any other remedy for all these problems, all these mental restrictions that you have in your mind other than taking actions. Okay, I don't suggest you to take big actions. What you have to do is to take small step, to do little things that you feel like a fear and a worry about things. Okay, just go for it and take action. If you have a fear of talking with a person, just for a little time go and talk with him, plan it and go and talk with him. If you have a fear of traveling alone, just try it a little bit. Okay, it will make you more confident about it. So the fourth step is to take action. Okay, and then the final step, if you feel like your overthinking pattern, your habit is troubling you and it is restricting you and it is holding you back from doing great things and becoming great, then you have to seek for help, right? Remember, you don't have to travel this journey alone. You have to seek for the help from trusted people. Maybe your trusted friend, it may be one of your family friends, maybe one of your relations, maybe your parents, maybe a counselor. Seek for help. right? Don't be shy and don't be afraid to ask for help and to reveal what is going inside your mind. When you reveal yourself and when you seek for the help, always there are people who can help you. Okay, so you are not alone in this world. Even 73%, you know that 73% of the young people in the age range of 25 to 35 suffer from chronic overthinking. So you are not alone in this world. Okay, so what we have to do is to first thing to identify what triggers you, second thing to be mindful, and then to challenge your thoughts and take action. And if all those things does not work, seek for the help, and always the help will be given to you. So these are the few things and the little things that you can practice in your life to overcome the pattern and the habit of overthinking. So I wish all the best in your journey of overcoming the overthinking patterns and living a life more productive and more happy. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we are going to discuss about another good quality that we all need to practice in our life, but we often forget this to practice. Now, what is this? It is called mudita. In another word, it is called appreciative joyfulness. What do you mean by this mudita? Mudita is the ability of being happy when you see someone else's happiness. For an example, let's say you're on social media and in the same time you're having a bad day. Now, when you scroll down, you see these nice pictures of people enjoying their life, living the best days in their life, being happy, and you're not having that life currently. In that case, what do you feel? The first thing that we feel is we feel down about ourselves. We think like, my life is terrible. My life is worse. Okay? And the next step is, for some people, they feel a little bit of angry about those people. And that is called envy. Okay? So the Buddha teaches us to practice mudita to avoid jealousy in your mind or avoid envy in your mind. Okay? So how to do that? This is a very simple practice, but to get used to it is very, very difficult, because for a long time, for a long period of time, we have practiced this envy in our mind. Okay? You know, the nature of mind is the more we practice something for a long time, it gets normal. Okay? It gets easier. That is why we are so good at these evil things like, you know, being angry, okay, being jealous, being distracted, okay, and being envious on others. That is why we are so good at those things. The Buddha teaches us to practice as a daily practice this practice of mudita, being happy on other people's happiness. Okay, let's say now you're seeing someone who is better than you, okay, more successful than you, more pretty than you, more clever than you. Let's say you're seeing someone like that. The first thing that you have to do is you have to wish the well-being of them, right? Think like, may they be successful even more. May they be happy even more in their life. You have to wish this from the bottom of your heart. You have to mean it and you have to feel it. Okay? When you do that, you feel happy. Okay? You don't feel the discomfort of envy. And also, in the same time, when you generate these mudita, thoughts of mudita, you generate a huge power in your mind to heal your mind and to be successful in your personal life. Okay? That is the power of mudita. Being jealousy, being envy on someone's life will never help you to be successful. Okay? Will never get you anywhere. One of the things that my teacher has taught me in my life is that don't be jealousy on someone's life, because jealousy will never help you to be successful. Okay? Jealousy will never help you to thrive and be more productive. And it will keep you in the same place, okay, without being successful, keep you in the same place, and it lets you to be angry on other people. So what we have to do, whenever we see some people who are better than us, we have to think that may they be better than us even more. Okay, may they be happy in their life even more. And that is called mudita. Okay, you can do, and you can start this practice from the people who are around you. Okay, there are people around you in your home, in your family. Start from them. Okay, wish the well-being of people around you. Okay, wish the well-being of your neighbors, your people who are in your city, your classroom, your school, your country. Okay, if you can spread those thoughts of mudita, you try and say this, you will feel much better in your heart. Okay, even when you feel down, and even when you are in your bad days in your life, you can be happy about your life because you are not comparing your life to other people. The reason why we feel jealousy and envy in our mind is we are constantly comparing our life to other people's life. We are so good at that. The more we compare our life to other people's life, the more we feel down about our personal life. Okay, so this is not something that we have to do. Okay, instead of harboring jealousy and envy in our mind, the Buddha teaches us practice the thoughts of mudita. Be happy on seeing other people's happiness. When you practice this, you will feel a big difference in your mind. Okay, and you will feel a big success in your personal life. So remember, mudita is the best medicine for the envy and jealousy in our mind. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome everyone to another video. Today, let's talk about how can we apply the meditation to a busy life. Now, I know most of you have a very, very busy life and you have a tight schedule, okay? Now, but in the same time, you want to meditate. So that's where you find the problem, right? You have a busy life and you're worried about it. You have a distracted mind, and we all get distracted when we have a busy life, but we all need to meditate. But there's a problem. What is that? How can we apply the meditation to this busy schedule? Right? It is very difficult. So many people complain to us that I cannot meditate because I'm very, very busy. I have a lot of things to be done. I have a lot of responsibilities. How can I deal with it? Well, this depends on how you look at the meditation, right? Now, when we imagine the word meditation, what is the picture that we imagine? We imagine a person sitting in a quiet and a comfortable place, and he's closing his eyes with his legs crossed, right? And he's doing meditation, okay? But meditation is not only that sitting meditation. It is also a part of meditation, but it is not the meditation, okay? Meditation is more easy and more practical than you think. So today I'm going to introduce you to a little practice that you can practice in your busy schedule while you're having a lot of responsibilities and while you're being busy, and you can do this meditation. This is all about mindfulness. Now, should we sit in a quiet place to be mindful? No. Okay? To be mindful, you can be in whatever posture, do whatever you want to do, and you can still be mindful. That is the beauty of this practice, the mindful practice. Okay? Now, let's say you're having a busy schedule and you don't have the time to sit and meditate. So, what we have to do is we can choose something that we do daily, right? Let's say almost every one of you have 2 meals per day, at least 2 meals per day. Okay, let's take breakfast. Let's say you're having your breakfast. Okay, normally in an average day, what do you do when you're having breakfast? Sometimes you read a newspaper. Sometimes you watch TV. Sometimes you scroll through social media. Sometimes you use the mobile. Sometimes you call to some friends. Okay, instead of doing all those things, okay, instead of distracting yourself while eating, while having your breakfast, why can't you be mindful about having the breakfast, about the action of eating? Okay, so that is the beauty of mindfulness. Mindfulness can be applied to every action in our daily life. No matter where we do it, no matter what we do it, no matter when we do it, we can apply mindfulness to our daily life. So let's say you're having a breakfast. Okay, just set aside all the distractions, your TV, maybe your mobile phone, your newspaper. You just focus on the taste. Okay, if you're eating from your hand, or if you're eating from your spoon or a fork, doesn't matter. You just feel the taste. When you place the food inside your mouth, you start to feel this taste. What we can do is just bring our mind to that sensation, to what we feel. Okay, and do this from one by one. Okay, one step at a time. Let's say you took one bite at a time and you become mindful about it. You feel the taste. Okay, because most of the time when we are eating, we are not aware of this taste, right? Our mind runs here and there, runs and catch into one and other thoughts, and it becomes distracted. So what we can do is we can bring our mind back to this taste and this sensation that we feel in the present moment. When you eat, you feel the taste in the present moment. Once you feel it, once you identify it, and once you focus your mind to it, that is what you call mindfulness. That is what you call meditation. Okay, so this is a simple practice. Every day, choose one meal, maybe lunch, maybe dinner, maybe breakfast. Choose one meal and focus on just eating. Okay, eat while you eat. Don't use the mobile phone while you eat. Don't watch TV while you eat. Don't use other distractions while you're eating, because when we distract ourselves, right, we miss a chance to practice the meditation in a daily life. One day, one lady came up to me, and when we were discussing, I asked from her, do you meditate? Then she said, no, I don't have time to meditate. Then I introduced this little practice of mindful eating to her. Then you cannot complain that you don't have time to meditate. Remember, meditation is everywhere. You can do it whenever you want, wherever you want. Okay? So add this little practice of mindful eating to your life, and then you don't have to worry about not having the time to meditate, because being mindful is meditation. Just keep that in your mind. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Do you know how can we stop a war? Now, as there are a lot of wars going on this earth today, people get killed, people get abused, people get murdered, a lot of chaos happening on this earth. How can we stop a war? There is only one way to stop a war, and that is to forgive and letting go. Okay? There's no any other way. So many people try to stop a war, sometimes stop the problems and the anger, remove the anger by the anger. There's a nice verse and a wonderful verse that was taught by the Buddha. The Buddha said, Nahi vere na verani, sammanti da kudachana. The anger is never appeased by anger. You cannot stop anger through anger. Avere na cha sammanti esa dhammo sanattano. If you need to stop anger, if you need to stop hatred, if you need to stop a war, you need to stop the anger. You need to forgive, and you need to let go. You know, the anger and the hate works like a cycle. Now, let's say one country is trying to dominate over another country. Okay? One country is trying to attack another country. What will happen? People in this country, they go to this country and they kill people. They attack people. They abuse people. And once they do that, what will happen? the hate and the anger builds in this community. Okay, so how they can remove their anger, how they try to take the revenge, they get into a group where they can revenge. So what they do is they get into an army, maybe a group of people who try to invade the other country, and they join to that army to take the revenge, and they go to this country and they kill these people in here, and they get killed, they get abused. Okay, and what happens then? The hate is building up in this world, this country, this community. And what happens after that? These people who left behind, they get into to a group of people who try to invade this country again, and they try to invade this country again, try to kill these people again. So this works like a cycle, and you will never be able to get out from that cycle if you did not choose to forgive. Okay, people think that you can end a war through a war, but it is not working in that way. You may be suppressing a war. Okay, you may be suppressing a country. Okay, you can keep a country under control and suppress those people for a little bit of time, maybe 10 years or 15 years. After 10 or 15 years, again, people who needs to take revenge, people who had that inner hate within them, they will come and they will attack the other country too. Okay, look at the history, just study the history. Not a single country has ever been benefited through war. Okay, that is why there's a saying like this: you can build the destructed buildings. When it comes to wars, buildings are being destroyed. You can build them, you can rebuild them. Okay, you can build the friendship between two nations after some times. The people who became angry will be friends again. But there's one thing that you cannot do, and that is you cannot give life to the dead people who died from the war again. You will never be able to give the life back to them. Okay, that is why war is not a good thing for any country. War is not a good thing for this humanity. Okay, somehow, if we need to stop the war, we need to forgive, we need to let go, even though it is difficult, even though it is hard. I know forgiving is not easy. It is really, really difficult. But if we need to stop the war, if we need to stop the anger, and if we need everyone to be happy, we have to let go. So remember, you will never be able to remove hate or remove anger through anger. By non-anger itself, you can remove the anger and you can be happy. Keep that in your mind. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. If there is one simple word that we all struggle to say, and that is no. N-O, no. Two simple letters, one simple word, but saying no can be the most hardest thing in life to do. Why we struggle to say no? The reason why we struggle to say no is because we have gotten used to say yes to many unimportant things in life. Okay? When we say yes to unimportant things in life, what happens to us? We miss the chance and we miss the time to say yes to the important things in life and to the things that really matters to us. Okay? And that is why we need to learn how to say no to unimportant things and how to say yes and how to be more focused on saying yes to the important things in life. Okay? So the reason why I'm doing this video is because a couple of days ago, I came across this word. When I was chanting, I came across this word in Karaniya Sutta. The Buddha says, Appakicho, do less. If you practice the Buddha's teachings, if you practice the spiritual path, or in any area of your life, you have to do less. Do not do more. Now, the society says the quite opposite thing to us. The society says that do more. The more you do, the more you achieve. Do many things as much as you can, then you will achieve. But turns out doing more will not help us to be more productive. Okay, to be more productive in what we are doing, to be more productive what really matters to in life. So that is why we have to master to say no to certain things in life and really be focused on what really matters to us. So from this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips that will help you to say no to unimportant things in life and to say yes and to be more focused on what really matters to you. Before learning how to say no to unimportant things in life, we have to understand why we say yes to unimportant things in life. The reason why we say yes to unimportant things is because of fear most of the time. Sometimes it is because of the fear of missing out. Sometimes it is the fear of letting someone down. Sometimes it is the fear of the only one to say no. Okay? Sometimes it is the fear of making the wrong decision. So that is why we say yes to unimportant things in life. And sometimes we say yes not only to the people, but also for the things in life. Okay? For an example, let's say you're studying. While you're studying, you have the mobile phone beside you. Okay? All of a sudden, you see a notification pops up on your phone. Now, you know that you're studying and you know that you have to be really focused on that. Okay? But you pick up the phone and you check what it is. Sometimes it is not necessary for you, but you check it and you say yes to that distraction. Let's say sometimes you plan to learn or to meditate in an evening. All of a sudden, you get a call from your friend and say that they ask for you to come with them to go shopping, maybe go to a party or to go to a walk. Because of fear of putting that person down or letting that someone down or to say no, we say yes to them. Okay, so when you say yes to them, sometimes we miss the chance and we miss that valuable time to be focused, to be more focused on what really matters to us. Okay, what really helps us to achieve our larger purpose in life. And that is why we have to learn how to say no correctly. So here are the few steps that you can help you to achieve that. The first step to saying no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-awareness. Okay? You have to have a good understanding what really matters to you and why you say yes to certain things and why you say no to certain things. When you're aware of that, then you can easily say yes to important things in life and no to unimportant things in life. So before saying yes to something, just ask from yourself this question: why? Why am I saying yes to this? Okay, before saying yes to something or to a person, just figure out why you say yes to that person or why you say yes to that thing. Okay, before you say no to certain things, you have to figure out why you are saying no to certain things in life. For an example, let's say you need to check your mobile phone. Okay, your mind says to check your mobile phone. Before doing that, you have to ask from yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why should I do this? When you ask from yourself that question, you become more aware of yourself. You become more aware of what you're doing. The Buddha says, before you do something or before you say something, just ask from yourself that is it helpful for me? Is this thing that I'm going to do is helpful for me or helpful for others? Is it good for me? Is it good for others? When you ask from yourself that question, and if you come to the answer that, yes, this is really worthy of saying yes, this is really worthy of saying, this is really important to me, then do it. But if you come across the answer that, no, this doesn't really matters to me, okay, it is not important to my life, then by all means, do not do it because it steals your time, the valuable time in your life. So the first step of saying no, learning how to say no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-awareness. The second step of learning to say no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-discipline. And now this is the most hardest part because it takes a lot of courage and grit to say no. And you need to be more disciplined to say no to unimportant things in life. Because sometimes the things that we say no, we have to say no to unimportant things in life, may be the most enjoyable things in life. Okay? Let's say like we all like to enjoy in life, but sometimes those things that makes us enjoyable will not help us to be more productive. Okay, for an example, let's say you are going to study and you're planning to study, you're planning to meditate, but well, sometimes your friends ask you to come and join to a party. Okay, now you like to go to a party, but you know that the most important thing in your life is the learning process. That is what helps you to achieve more success. The most important thing in life is to build a good spiritual, a strong spiritual base in your life. So then it is very difficult to say no to those things because we fancy in doing all those things. Okay, so that is where we need the self-discipline, to be disciplined and to say no. This is what really matters to me and I have to do it. Then you have to say no to those people politely. You can explain why you are saying no. Okay, I heard this one quote saying that learn to say no to people without explaining yourself. I would say learn to say no to people and explain why you're saying no to them. Then they can understand why you're saying no. Okay? So then they will respect your time and your values in your life. So that is why we have to learn to say no politely and correctly. The third step is to understand that your time is valuable. Time is the most valuable asset that we have in our hand. Okay? And our time on this earth is really limited. You don't have an infinite time on this earth. We have a finite time and we have to use that limited time very well. So I would suggest look at your time like you look at your money. Okay? So when you get money, you don't spend that money lavishly or to whichever the thing that you want. You don't put that money wherever you are. No, we become more serious and you become more serious about your money. Same like that. Think about your time as you think about your money. Okay? Because money can be earned again, but the time cannot be earned again. You cannot take back the time. It is limited. And that is why in this limited time, you have to do the best thing that you can do. Okay? Be more serious when it comes to time. Don't waste it. Okay? It is the most valuable asset that we have. If you value time, if you respect your time, then you can say no to unimportant things and then you can learn to say yes to what really matters in your life. Okay, so respect your time and also respect other people's time as well. And the next step is to ask this magic question. The magic question is it really necessary? Before you say something, before you do something, before you say yes to someone or something, ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Okay, sometimes because we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we don't know that we don't really need it. For an example, let's say you came back home after a tired day, okay, and you say yes to social media. And you scroll through and it steals maybe 1 or 2 hours of your valuable time. In that time, there is someone that is valuable that you can do. Maybe to talk with your kids, maybe talk with your parents, maybe talk with your children. Then you can be more engaging with them and do something valuable with them. Instead of hanging out in social media and wasting that valuable time, just we can do something valuable. Before doing that, we have to ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Then you can decide what to say no and what to say yes. Okay? So keep that in your mind. And the final step is to figure out what is really important to you, what really matters to you. Now, the most of the time, the reason why we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we haven't figured out what really matters in life. Okay, what really matters to us. So that is why, if you have a good understanding what is the larger purpose of your life, what really matters to you, what is really valuable in your life, you can be more focused on that and say no to other things in life that really never helps you to achieve the larger purpose in your life. So I would suggest take a quiet time in your day to figure out what really matters to me today. What should I do, and what is the most important thing that I should do today to achieve the larger purpose of my life? In that way, you will have a good understanding what really matters in your life and the things that don't really matters in your life, and be more focused in doing those things. Sometimes it is more enjoyable doing unimportant things in life, but although it is enjoyable, although it is hard to say no to all those distractions, we have to say no to them, because those are the things that prevents us engaging and achieving the larger purpose in our life. So finally, these are the tips that you can practice to say no to unimportant things and to say no to distractions in your life and to be more focused on what really matters. So finally, saying no can be really hard. I know it is really hard, but in order to achieve a happy life and a calmer life and a more disciplined life, we have to say no, and we have to learn to say no to unimportant things in life. So practice these little tips, and then you'll be happy in your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Now, you probably heard about this Buddhist statement and Buddhist saying that says, nothing is permanent in this life, and everything is subjected to change. Now, this is one of the core and main teachings in Buddhism, and in Pali language, we call it anicca. Anicca can be literally translated as impermanence or subjecting for something to be changed. Okay, so what did really Buddha taught about anicca or impermanence? Let's take a look at it. Now, when we talk about impermanence, now everything that is around us, that we can see, that we can hear, that we can feel, has one nature in common, and that is it is subjected to change. That is one nature that is shared with all the things that are around us. Okay, from the smallest atom to the biggest thing in this world, everything is subjected to change, and everything is ever changing. There is nothing stable in life. Now, normally when we look at, now it seems like very easily recognizable phenomena and a process, but let's say like this, for an example. Now, there's a cup here, all right? Now, if I ask from you, how does this cup become impermanence? How do you answer? Oh, then you can say, oh, this falls down. When it shatters, it becomes impermanent, okay? That is one way of understanding and one way of recognizing what is impermanent. Now, what Buddha meant about anicca or impermanence is a way more subtler impermanence than what we talk about, okay? Now, the Buddha said, your feelings and your thoughts and your perception and your weave towards this cup becomes impermanent, and it is ever changing. Now, that impermanence happens now, right? For an example, like let's say now you can say this is stable, okay? This is not changing. This is not shattered. It stays. But our thoughts and our feelings and our perceptions are ever changing right now, right here. So to understand that kind of impermanent is way more subtler, and it is very, very difficult. And that is why we need the meditation practice and spiritual practice to understand this.
So how can we recognize and how can we realize this nature of impermanence? Now, the Buddha said the first step is to slow down and to be calm. The Buddha said you cannot comprehend and you cannot realize this kind of impermanence through a distracted mind. When your mind is distracted, it is very difficult to focus on this impermanence. And that is why the Buddha introduced samatha meditation or calming meditations to calm down your mind. And in the same time, we have to practice the wisdom through learning the Buddha's teachings and through wisely reflecting on the reality to bring up the wisdom that is within us. When the calmness and the peacefulness and concentration paired with wisdom, the Buddha said that you can reach and you can identify and realize this kind of impermanence. So, what Buddha meant by anicca is a way more subtler and way more deeper meaning than the normal and superficial meaning of impermanence. So, that is what Buddha meant. So that is what we have to practice to realize and to see in Buddha's teachings. So I hope you got some idea about what anicca is. So add this into your life and try to realize this anicca by practicing meditation and by realizing the true nature of your life. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. In Buddhism, there is a practice called sila. Sila is the way of self-discipline and moral conduct and virtuous behavior. So let's talk about sila from this video. So fundamentally, all Buddhists practice 5 precepts. These 5 precepts are abstaining from killing beings, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from telling lies, and abstaining from using intoxicating drinks and drugs. So these are the 5 precepts that all laymen and laywomen practice. And on Poya days or full moon Poya days and full moon days, which is a special day for all Buddhists, they practice 8 precepts. And for a novice monk or a junior monk, they get 10 precepts to practice. And for a senior monk or a higher ordained monk, they have 227 precepts to practice. So a lot of disciplinary codes and a lot of precepts and a lot of, you might think, a lot of rules, right? This is a complaint that most of the time that I hear from people who are new to Buddhism. They say, oh, there are a lot of rules, there are a lot of disciplinary codes, and there are a lot of restrictions. It kind of steals my freedom. But here's the thing. Buddhist precepts are not meant to be rules. They are not rules. They are self-disciplinary virtues that Buddha introduced to practice to keep the mind out of regret and to keep the mind more wholesome, to bring the mind to a more wholesome state. So why did Buddha introduce these practices as a sila or a disciplinary, these virtues or moral conducts or precepts? Why did he do that? The reason is the Buddha realized when someone engaged in such activities like breaking a precept, it accumulates bad karma or unwholesome karma. And what unwholesome karma leads to? That leads to suffering or regret. For an example, if someone kills animals or kill living beings, that needs to, he must create a lot of unwholesome intentions like violence, cruelty, and harmful thoughts, right? So these thoughts will lead to harmful results or suffering. The Buddha said that intention is the karma. Chetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. Monks, I say, the intention is the karma. So as intention is the karma, if someone generates more unwholesome intentions, then he will accumulate more unwholesome karma, which leads to unwholesome results or suffering as a result. So the Buddha said, it is much better to stay away from these actions which leads to suffering in life. And that is why Buddha introduced sila as a practice to be disciplined from your body and from your words to live a life of less regret, right? So most of the time, people, when they commit or when they do these such offenses, or I would say when they do such unwholesome actions, what is the final result? It leads to the regret, right? They think like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe after a long time, they'll think like, I shouldn't have done that. To stay away from that regret, to stay away from your mind complaining to yourself that you're a bad person, you did this bad thing, to stay away from that, the Buddha said, be disciplined. Live a life of self-discipline, or live a virtuous life. That is why Buddha introduced these precepts as sila. And also remember that if someone breaks such a precept, there is not a person, or there is not any God who is going to punish that person. Buddha is not coming to punish you, okay? So if someone breaks the precepts, the Buddha introduced a way to make it correct, okay? If you did a mistake, the Buddha said that it is okay to do mistakes. Mistakes can happen, but you have to correct that mistake. Understand that mistake as a mistake, okay? Understand that offense as an offense and correct it. The way to correct an offense or a mistake is to be open up. Do not hide that offense. Do not keep that mistake in your life and hide it and cover up and live like pretend to be a good person. The Buddha said, if you did an offense, be opened up. Tell it to a wise person who can understand you and who can forgive you. Tell it to that person and free your mind. Okay, that is why in monk's tradition, usually in monk's disciplinary codes, if a monk did an offense, or it is called apatti in monk's tradition, if apatti has happened, a mistake has happened, the way that we can correct that mistake is to go to a brother monk or a spiritual companion and to be open up to him, to say that I did this offense. This mistake has happened within me, so I'm going to correct it. I'm trying my best to protect and to be disciplined hereafter. And that is the way that we correct our mistakes. So you may be wondering, what is the use of practicing sila or being disciplined? So in Kimattiya Sutta, the Buddha explained this to Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda asked from the Buddha, Bhante, what is the purpose and benefit of wholesome, virtuous behavior, which is sila? The Buddha says, Ananda, the purpose and benefit of wholesome, virtuous behavior is non-regret. By practicing sila, it leads to non-regret. And what is the purpose and benefit of non-regret? The purpose and benefit of non-regret is joy. And what is the purpose and benefit of joy? The purpose and benefit of joy is rapture, is more spiritual pleasure. And what is the purpose and benefit of rapture? The purpose and benefit of rapture is tranquility. And what is the purpose and benefit of tranquility? The purpose and benefit of tranquility is pleasure. And what is the purpose and benefit of pleasure? The purpose and benefit of pleasure is concentration. And what is the purpose and benefit of concentration? The purpose and benefit of concentration is the knowledge and vision of things as they are, the realization of reality. And what, Bhante, is purpose and benefit of the knowledge and vision of the things as they are? The purpose and benefit of knowledge and vision of things as they are is disenchantment and dispassion. And what is the purpose and benefit of disenchantment and dispassion? The purpose and benefit of disenchantment and dispassion is the knowledge and vision of liberation. So the whole practice, whole steps leads to the liberation. So one must practice the Buddhist precepts to find the liberation, which we call vimukti in Buddhist tradition. So being disciplined, it will make you liberate. So someone can think being disciplined and having these disciplinary codes will lead to like restricted life, more difficult life, more boring life. Someone can say. Usually people say that, oh, monks' life is so boring. They have a lot of things to, like a lot of restrictions and a lot of rules to practice. It is difficult. It is boring. Actually, the monk's life is so interesting and more enjoyable and more happy, because so many things, like you haven't tried this. That is why some people think that this is boring. But this is one life that one can enjoy very much, and which is very peaceful. So always remember, by being disciplined, you can free your mind. And that is why we believe that discipline leads to the freedom. So that is why in Buddhism, it is practiced the sila, or the self-discipline. So this is a little information about sila, or the practice of self-discipline in Buddhism. So I hope you got some idea about this. So let's meet in the next video. Namo Buddhaya.